Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
To Radio AMB, designed for those who want to live a long and vibrant life. I'm Patty Schmucker, your host, and I've been in the beauty industry for over 40 years. Radio AMB, which stands for American-Made Beauty, is where we tell the secrets behind the making of health and beauty products. Just want to take a second and do a little shout-out to our sponsors, AmericanMadeBeauty.com, which is a platform designed to help consumers find beauty companies that are implementing the industry's best practices by producing quality products and services. If you'd like to try and sample some of our products, go to AmericanMadeBeauty.com and click on the consumer box or the consumer tab, and you can actually select samples of products. That's AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Well, as the new year is off to a great start, it's the time of the season where the industry begins to highlight all of the advances that they've made. This last week was the ISSE show, International Salon and Spa Expo, produced by the largest trade organization in the beauty industry, the PBA. The show featured a ton of our industry's top technical artists and business professionals. I had a chance to sit into Tabitha Coffey's presentation that was just excellent. A couple of things that caught my eye this year was just hair cutting and styling techniques that are just off the wall. They're just so exciting to see some of the inspiration and so many great young people up and coming and really doing some great things. A lot of hair extensions, all sorts of different types of art and expression going on in hair. Makeup was all over the place, and the big twist that I saw was a lot to do with a new twist on the wings, not just in black liners or dark liners, but all sorts of different types of colors and sparkle and metallics and things like that. I walked the skincare area, and I didn't really see anything that screamed out to me as innovation, but one of my favorites that's been there for quite a while is organic pigment makeup, which is a semi-permanent tattoo for liners and brows and things like that doesn't go into the dermis. It goes into the epidermis, so there's some real advantages. Check that out. But the big blow-me-away explosion was in nails. Holy moly. I don't know if that's okay to say anymore, but holy moly, it was just an explosion with all sorts of different techniques and things that are happening, and I just love the art and loved the expression of art that you see at these different types of show. So this is the big one here in the West in L.A. Chicago happens in a few more weeks, and then in March is New York. So those are the big shows that happen in our industry. My guest today is one of those people who is contributing to the inspiration of the art for both the professional and the consumer. Tatum Neill is a member of the youngest generation in a multi-generational royal family of our industry. The Neill Corporation has been providing education and inspiration to the professional industry for many years. Tatum has created Elevate Hair, which brings together the community of hairdressers for inspiration, music, performance, and education. It's an opportunity for artists of the community to showcase their work, express themselves creatively, and inspire their community. They're preparing for a show here in L.A. February 13th at the Viper Room. So we moved around a few guests and asked Tatum to take a moment from his busy schedule so he could call in and meet you all and learn how he prepares for the local artists to put on the show for consumers and professionals. Welcome, Tatum. I'm delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you. Such a nice introduction, I have to say.
Well, you know, I have had the privilege of being involved with you guys for most of my career, so it's just so exciting to see it evolve. For our audience, will you tell us a little bit about your family history and how when it started and what the Neill Corporation is all about today?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my family business started with my grandfather back in the 40s, and it really started off as a basic distribution business. He was a salesman and somehow fell into sales of products and chemicals and treatments and things like that for salons. And back in that time period, people were really focused, customers were really focused on going to the salon and getting their hair done. So you might imagine going to the salon, you know, 2-3 times a week to have your hair properly set, put it in the dryer, maybe color, and then you would go home and you'd wear that look for, you know, a few days until your next salon service. That all changed with Vidal Sassoon and the advent of wash and wear hair. And around that time period, my dad, Edwin Neill, took over the reins from my grandfather, and that's when our distribution company and our whole business really started to change. You know, of course, the difference in going to the salon and wearing your look before your next visit is there's no home care routine. And once my dad picked up the reins, people were expected to leave the salon and wear that look for 6 to 8 weeks. And so then that started changing our business quite crazily, quite abruptly, in that we needed to start producing products for people to take home. We started working with numerous manufacturers. Some of the most notable were Redken, Paul Mitchell, and Aveda. In addition to changing the retailing game for salons, he saw, we're based in Louisiana, outside of New Orleans, he saw a huge need for people to get educated on how to do hair and how to be better at hairdressers. His whole concept was if he could elevate the craft of hairdressing and hairdressers, that the beauty business could really change and become a more respectable profession. I think most people kind of think of beauticians, well, that's not even a word anymore, but beauticians, hairdressers, as people who maybe weren't successful at school, didn't go to college. And my dad was one of the first people to recognize that some of these, not quick people were quite brilliant, and some of them were making millions of dollars. So he started to kind of change how the industry looked at hairdressing and the hairdresser, and started bringing more education, not only just behind the chair, but, how to run the business. And all that stuff was quite pioneering. Some of the people he brought in, Trevor Sorby, we were the first people to bring Tony and Guy to the States, which was quite a huge deal, especially since they had no product affiliation at the time. And his distributor friends thought he was kind of crazy. He's like, why are you bringing these guys here? Yeah, they're great, but they're not selling anything. And again, back to his message of, well, we really want to elevate the craft of the hairdresser and make them more valuable to the consumer, and so they can make more money, and it was symbiotic. If our hairdressers are making more money, the salons are making more money, and the Neill Corporation is making more money. Fast forward to today, and that's where we're at now.
And it's interesting when you talk about that, because your dad, I was there in some of that, not really early on. He had already been, Redken was gone and Paul Mitchell was gone. It was really in the very early Aveda days. But one of the other areas that he was so excellent at was bringing in business minds. He was Deming was the father of quality, and this was so out of the realm of anybody's thinking within the beauty industry. As you said, the thought was that hairdressers who didn't normally attend any kind of academic environment, were more artistic in nature, didn't really have the capacity, if you will, for the kind of thinking that Deming and many of the other non-traditional or business educators that your dad, Edwin, brought in to the program, brought in to educate the industry. And I think that also was really transformable for our industry and really began elevating the awareness as far as business within the industry as well. Were you a part of, or do you remember as far as some of that business education being there as well?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm, not to date myself too much, but I was born in 1980, so I was born right, we were with Paul Mitchell, we were with Horace Nevada, and I believe that stuff started happening in the late 80s, early 90s. And I certainly remember Deming being around. I remember seeing his face on his book, and that sort of created what we called Neill Quality College. And Deming it was a global impact. And I lectured at school sometimes about, environmental business and things, and I referenced Deming in that part of our history because, this guy really kind of was the thinker behind the transformation of the Japanese economy and that whole belief of quality over quantity. And that right there was very sort of big for the hair industry. It was really a business where you turned over as many people as you could and you charged a lower price. And he said, no, let's spend more time, let's do better work, and let's charge more. And that was really revolutionary. So, yeah, I definitely remember it. I don't remember any of the behind-the-scenes stuff with it. It was just kind of like around me. I was still pretty young at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And my daughter is exactly the same age, and so sort of I can remember where I was at those various different stages, but attending Neill Quality College, and it was a culture that your dad created and that has continued even today, where it's not just about this whole revolutionary approach that your organization teaches to the hairdresser, but it's also a culture within your internal customers, all of you. Tell us a little bit about what it's like as a member of the Neill Corporation employees. Tell us a little bit about how that culture, I would say, is a fertile ground for innovation. What are some of the things that you experience that as a worker that allows you to really spark your creativity?
I think it's really a commitment to education across all platforms and this sort of belief of recognizing your full potential. And so a lot of the things that we do in our company are to kind of help stimulate the body as well as the mind. So, we had organic strawberry farm in rural Louisiana in the late 80s. And, we were into raw food in the late 90s, early 2000s. We were always trying to make help our employees be as healthy as possible, as well as going into deeper thought, obviously meditation. We had I think one of our first Serious Business conferences, or one of the first iterations of Serious Business, which is like a business conference for hairdressers. I think we had Deepak Chopra there, and that was like in the early 90s. So we've always been a balance of stimulating people's minds, their bodies, and helping that contribute to our work environment. And so all those things together really allows people to reach their full potential. And so any facet of creativity that you have is much more easily expressed.
And so at what age did you actually officially enter the business, and did you do so through going to beauty school yourself, or did you join the distribution?
It's funny. I had a very roundabout way. First of all, my dad always wanted us to work every summer. If we weren't in school, we were working. So, my earliest memories of hair shows were running cables underneath stages, and my first job with the company was packing boxes at our distribution center. Then I worked in the salon, like in front desk. Then I went off to college, and I think for a lot of kids who grow up in a family business, their first instinct isn't always to work in the family business; it's to do something else. And I don't care if your family business is a lawyer, a plumber, or a hairdresser. It's just not what you want to do. And so I went to college. I got my degree in environmental policy from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And I worked a little bit part-time with the EPA in North Carolina, and I came back after school and started working for Neill Corporation after graduation as sort of, I like to joke, as the corporate tree hugger. But basically I would go out and do education and outreach for salons and teach them how to be more green. And I partnered with Tulane University here to create some energy efficiency protocols for salons. There's a lot of information about how businesses can be more green, but nothing with regards to hairdressing, which has a very specific and unique footprint. So we developed that, and we are going around, teaching salon owners, hairdressers how to be more eco-friendly. And I was just constantly bombarded by hairdressers, and they were like, you should do hair, you should do hair, you should do hair. And it kind of sunk in, and I knew I had probably a natural aptitude for hair because in college I cut my girlfriend's hair, and I studied environmental policy, and I minored in fine art. My girlfriend at the time was an art major, and she begged me to cut her hair, and I really didn't want to because I knew how difficult hair cutting was. But she insisted, and so I went to the drugstore and got just like a razor, like a razor blade. Luckily, I got her hair wet.
You were brave. You did not do scissors, but a razor.
Yeah, well, scissors. Nice scissors are gonna be expensive, but yeah, I don't know why. I can't remember why. But I grabbed a razor and I gave her a razor bob, and I couldn't graduate it or layer it because I didn't know how that looked. I didn't know how to do that technically, but I knew how it looked. So I was like, okay, this is a cool haircut. It's awesome. However, I think the back could be a little bit better. So we brought her to her salon, and her hairdresser happened to be the owner. She offered me a job, like right then and there. But I was kind of like, blown away. But I was at Carolina, and Carolina is an extremely difficult university, and I didn't feel like I had time to really invest into that. And my mom and my dad were at odds to some extent with me being in the industry. My mom really did not want me to be in the industry at all. My dad wanted nothing more for me to be a hairdresser. He had 7 kids. None of them did hair. And my grandfather, no one in the family ever did hair. And so I think he saw my sort of artistic side as a possible, way in. And I didn't want to tell either of them because I didn't want to throw fuel on either fire. I didn't want my dad knowing that I'd done hair and that was maybe good at it, and I didn't want my mom to know. And so, unfortunately, he died not knowing that I ever had done hair before and that I might be good at it. So I knew that maybe there was something inside that I could do hair. And Edwin, my brother, and Deborah, my stepmother, were like, hey, look, if you want to do hair, why don't you just go do it? And so we had beauty schools, but it was important for me. I have a deep fear of nepotism, and so I decided that I wanted to go off to a different beauty school. So I moved to New York, went to the Aveda Institute in Soho, and then continued on a different path. I graduated, went to Frederick Fekkai for a little bit, and then ultimately I spent about 8 or so years at a Rojo studio in New York, which is where I really learned how to cut hair, and as well as how I was developed to be an educator and platform artist. And a couple of years ago, I came back home, and now I've been the creative director for Paris Parker, and then we just created this Elevate Hair event.
So, and I love the whole idea that, well, first of all, knowing your father, and it sends chills down my spine to hear the story, and which I never knew, that he never knew that you ended up being a hairdresser, because I know how important that was for him.
Yeah.
So that's just it really strikes me. But I love the idea that you wanted to get a grander world view rather than just going to the school that your family owned. You went to New York, Frederick Fekkai, worked with a Rojo. What were were there some striking differences that you found by getting that perspective versus staying in your family's businesses?
I think the most striking thing that I learned really happened in hair school, because I had grown up in the industry and I knew so much about hair and I knew so much about hairdressing, and I knew so much, and I really didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. I can't explain to you what it means to be behind the chair and experience that world. And as much as I knew, as much as I thought I knew, I didn't know. And that, for me, was the most compelling lesson, because all along we'd hear hairdressers say, you don't really know what you're talking about, or, there's like this kind of barrier between sort of the business side, and the hairdresser side. And there's some truth to that. And that was the most compelling thing. I mean, I could definitely talk about, the technical aspects of what I learned and everything, but that was the most striking thing. I think secondly, which is just as important, and that really came from working with Nick Rojo. And, I thought my dad was a hard worker, and he was, much to my dismay as a kid. He was always working. But, man, Nick Rojo really showed me what it was like to really be committed to your job and your craft, and what it was like to be in a salon every day and really drive a business. that was a really great lesson. Again, the technical expertise that I try to have it was great, but man, just seeing someone really believe in their business and push and drive their business from the chair up, so to speak, that was a great lesson.
And do you think you would have been? Do you think that you received the lesson better because you got it from outside versus staying within the Neill Corp family?
Just think about it. We have 9 locations. We're a huge salon company, and no one from the family cuts hair. So I don't know that I could have understood what it was like to own my own salon business if I didn't see someone who owned their own salon business. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think, honestly, anyone would respect me, and that was my big fear, if I didn't, carve my own path. And going through that, the discipline of Arrojo's education system and achieving what I did in that time period there, no one can take that away from me. And I can walk, shoulder to shoulder with, anyone in this industry and feel confident about my technical skills and my abilities and the path that I chose.
Right. And so when you returned then to Paris Parker, did you then work behind the chair for a period of time?
Yeah, there was a big push for me to be behind the chair and to sort of lead in partnership with a team as opposed to come in as a sort of a ruler and dictator, if you will, which I totally agreed with. And I've kind of bounced around. We have 9 locations, like I said, so I've bounced around. And I've kind of seen the business as a whole through our territory. And that to me was really important. And I'm still not, I'm a leader, but I'm not the boss, or at least I don't think I'm the boss, so to speak.
Yeah, and that whole concept of leadership versus being a boss is an important part of that culture as well. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about leadership, and in particular how that's evolved something called Elevate Hair. So stay with us. We will be right back.
Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
What does HealthyLife.net and Amazon.com have in common? Well, they're both available on the Internet. They both give great value. But most important, most of our positive program hosts and guests are accomplished authors, and their books are available from, you got it, Amazon.com. Now, it even gets better than that, because when you're listening on air to a HealthyLife.net host or guest, you can go directly to Amazon.com and you can order your book while you're still listening to your favorite HealthyLife.net program. So when you hear an author you like, go to the homepage of HealthyLife.net and click on Amazon.com.
Where positive people and radio unite. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back. You're listening to Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. I'm Patty Schmucker, your host, and we have the pleasure today of having with us Tatum Neill of the Neill Corporation, and we're talking about the career that he's had coming into the industry, growing up really in a third-generation beauty industry family, and now having an opportunity to sort of create his own cut his own path and create his own mark on the industry. Tatum, tell us a little bit about how, when you came back after achieving your own education, you came back to the Neill Corporation, and you began something called Elevate Hair. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
So Elevate Hair, just quickly, is the anti-hair show. So it's a hair show where people, it's evolved, and now it's a hair show where people who are locals have the opportunity to get on stage and do hair without having to talk and go through too much details. They can just sort of create on stage with the DJ. So there's music, there's booze. It's usually at a bar. It's an evening event, and people kind of create these organic looks in styling and cutting. They're quite creative, and they sort of exist within their own region. So, hair in L.A. is going to be different than hair in Houston, and so we sort of celebrate that and allow people from those communities to showcase their style.
And when people who attend these events, is it just for the beauty industry?
It's funny. The music is great. So a lot of people come because it's a great dance party, too. And you have people who are primarily connected to the industry in that they're, friends with so-and-so or they're married. But we have had events where people are just kind of affiliated with that venue and are there. And that's some of the best feedback I get. I hear a lot from people who aren't connected to the industry, how sort of impressed they are that there's a whole artistic side to our industry and how they never understood that or even thought about it, and how eloquently Elevate showcase that. So those are some of my favorite participants, are those people who just aren't connected and are kind of blown away at what hairdressers can do.
Right. Now, tell us a little bit about why you set it up so that there's no talking. Can they not talk, or is that just you set it up so that somebody doesn't have to talk as if they're presenting?
Yeah, so it all kind of came about organically. And so for those of you who haven't seen a hair show before, a lot of hair shows are essentially product demonstrations, and a lot of it's a way to kind of communicate to hairdressers about new products or new ideas, and so it just requires talking. And I approached this started actually in our salon, and it was just a way for us to connect to our other local salons who are like-minded in that they really had a deep appreciation for the craft of hairdressing. And I'm a DJ as well. It's actually my first love. I've been DJing for longer than I've been doing hair. And I had done just a new mix, and I wanted to hear it. And so I figured we usually have background music on at our events where we're talking about what we're doing. And so I sort of asked the audience, small audience, would it be okay if we just turned the music up a little louder and just listen to it, and then we could talk about what we were doing afterwards. And I had this whole plan of a haircut, and I shifted my thinking on the haircut midway through the haircut. And I don't know that I'd have been able to do that if I was talking about it or express to everyone what was going to happen. And it turned out to be, of all the demos that I'd ever done, hundreds, that this was the best demo I'd ever done. And it was like that because I was sort of enjoying the music, enjoying the vibe, and I wasn't, encumbered by having to speak about what I was doing. And so that was like the catalyst. Okay, whoa, let's just do hair. Let's just have some cool music. Let's just do hair. Let's have fun. And that's how that kind of aspect came to it. And another evolution was, when we first talked about doing this kind of idea, I was going to go to a Houston or L.A. or wherever, and I was going to do hair with the core team, and I was going to showcase to people what I thought was cool. And then we started shifting our thinking, and instead of me telling, a group of people what I think is cool, I started asking people to tell me what they think is cool. And so that's how the show really shifted. And it's also shifted in that we were bringing in outside big artists to small areas, and now we're really not doing that anymore. Now we're just having locals in that community come on stage, giving them the opportunity to communicate just through their art what they really love. And it's really been great, and people love it. And the fact that they don't have to talk not only allows them to be more creative, it allows for people who might not have eloquent speaking skills to still showcase their work.
Exactly. Now, and to talk about the total development of a community and engagement, how does someone participate? If they wanted to do hair, can anyone show up and do hair, or do you go through a selection process?
Yeah, it's, at first I was trying to find people to do it, and now people are finding me. If anyone wants to do hair, all they have to do is go to our Instagram page, Elevate Hair, and just direct message me, hey, I want to do hair. And, I can check out their work, and if we have space for you, then I like to do it.
Great. And it's a little bit of a different spelling to Elevate. So will you provide that?
Yeah, actually, so Elevate Hair, the website, we couldn't get the spelled-out version, but we actually do have the spelled-out version now. We finally were able to buy it, and so we were spelling it with an 8 before, and I think that's the original host site or whatever, but if you just type in elevatehair.com, you can go to the website, and then Elevate Hair on Instagram is spelled out correctly.
Now, when you mentioned about the idea that you used to think about bringing in all of these big people to do hair, but instead it sort of organically grew to allow the people who thought that they wanted to share the craft and came forward. Have you seen that people feel more engaged and that you're being able to see different arts coming up that you really, it is a surprise, I guess?
I think that it's not necessarily how it really started was that we typically work with bars, in a guarantees type of situation, so that people are, we guarantee them a certain amount of money, in bar sales. And we had the headliners on last, like you would book any type of show, and we noticed people were leaving early. And then we switched it, and we had the headliners go on first or earlier, because people came to see their friend Jimmy do a haircut or whatever. And then people started staying longer, and we started becoming more successful. And so that's how it kind of shifted. And then all of a sudden we were just like, we just need locals. And
right.
So it doesn't necessarily speak to the art or whatever, or that wasn't the intention. It was more of a financial situation. But now we're starting to see how, San Antonio looks a little different than Austin, and Austin's a little different than Nashville, and we'll see.
And how do you use digital to try and to pass the message and show what's going on?
Yeah, we're pretty much an Instagram company. So we produce our own flyer on Instagram. We send that and share that around, and then we encourage artists to make their own flyers and send that around as well. And so it's just kind of a huge Instagram operation at this point.
That's great. I love the idea that of each artist also, you demonstrated this when I saw you speak, and in terms of how you help them to create their own Instagram flyers as well. When we come back, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll highlight some of the things that Tatum is looking at happening here in L.A. and some of the other shows coming up this year. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now this same technology is available to you. They have the best Earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. EarthChannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now. So come to EarthChannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call earthchannel.com at 1-800-849-8978. That's 1-800-849-8978.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. Well, be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap steak. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back. You're listening to Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. I'm here with Tatum Neill. Tatum Neill. How often do you get that, Tatum?
Fairly often.
Fairly often. Tatum Neill of Neill Corporation. I'm Patty Schmucker, your host. And we're talking about Elevate Hair, in which it's a program that is designed to showcase the art of hair design all over the United States, and a format by which up-and-coming hair designers are able to really showcase their work. Right now in our industry, there are a number of generations of artists that are working in the industry, and if for the first time we have artists in their 40s, 50s, even 60s who are still doing hair and demonstrating excellence. Tatum, you've been able to put together Elevate Hair. Are you finding it being really a great platform by which to cultivate that next generation of platform artists that are able to demonstrate their work?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up because, there are only so many hair brands out there. And the really big ones have creative directors who've been there for, sometimes forever. And then you have other brands where they're smaller companies, and more often than not, the owner of the brand is a hairdresser, and so his name is on the product, and he's the main platform artist. So there's very, very little room at the very top of platform artistry, and it's kind of one of those things where a lot of hairdressers want to do it. And so there's not a lot of opportunity for people to move up the ladder, so to speak, until someone dies or they create their own product company or whatever. And so what we found is that this Elevate Hair is a great venue to showcase people who would normally not have a chance to show off their work, to give them a platform to kind of share. And I think that we're seeing people develop their skills as far as presenting. We have people who, on the first, second, third time have huge increases in the quality of their showmanship. And so that's one of my favorite things. Another great thing about this is because we're like a product neutral event. So we don't have an overt product sponsor. We have product sponsorship on the back end as far as like technical and stuff. Most of it's happening through the Neill family and Aveda. But we're not, it's not like a Neill show. It's not a Aveda show. It's not a Paul Mitchell show. It's Elevate Hair. And what's cool about that is by sort of removing the sort of salesmanship of product, people are allowed to really kind of showcase just their raw talent. And for the hair cutters, it's really great because, you sell shampoo, you sell styling products, you sell color. That's what you're talking about. And you're not really talking about hair cutting. And so this gives those artists who are really great hair cutters finally a venue where they can just go up on stage and do a great haircut and be celebrated for that.
Right, exactly. Now, you have partnered with another internet company that has been very effective, Hairbrained. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, Hairbrained is kind of how, one of the foundations of the concept of Elevate Hair. And Hairbrain started about 5 or 6 years ago. Randy Taylor and Gerard Scarpese started it as a sort of a social media platform for hairdressers and as a way to connect people to each other. And I really enjoyed that connectivity. They do a great event called Teach-In. I was watching a Teach-In, and I was seeing all these great artists from across a variety of brand platforms on one stage together. And I was like, wow, you never really get to see this. You never get to see people talking about just hair. And from, this company and this company, it never exists. And so that was kind of the foundation, concept of Elevate Hair. How can I bring community, and how can I break down those barriers? I think as a consumer, we don't kind of understand because we might go to one salon, we might go to the other. We have literally salons that sit across from each other, and they don't know about what's going on inside each other's businesses. They might not even know each other. And if I'm an Aveda artist, I know about Aveda platform artists, but I don't know anything about Paul Mitchell artists. And so I kind of wanted to break that down and just have us come together and appreciate what Hairbrain would call craft hairdressing. And that was really kind of the early concepts of it, and we've partnered with Hairbrain, and they do a lot of promotion for us, and they do some of the networking for us as far as getting us artists. And it's just been a great partnership, and I think we're completely aligned with our values and our ideals about hairdressing.
That's great. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, it seems like this is also a great way to bring together another community, and that is the non-licensed influencers that are out there. Social media has created an opportunity for the layperson to sort of talk about their experience with beauty, whether it be products or with professionals and things like that. Do you see that is another area where the community is coming together?
Yeah, I think that, Gerard always says, content is king. And so you have people who are bloggers and beauty editors and who have their own social media channels, and they're hungry for content. And what Elevate Hair is a content-generating machine. We're constantly, I don't even know how many posts we have right now that are with our hashtag Elevate Hair. But there's so much, innovation in hairstyling and hair cutting, and we find that beauty bloggers and people who are just interested in fashion in general just absorb it and love it, and they can repost and get that content back out there.
Right. And have you had any kind of situation, because one of the things that scares me about some of the, particularly bloggers and some of the social media people who are not licensed, I've seen some things online. One of the ones that I saw was a woman who was using glue. She wanted to try glue on her face for waxing versus anything else. And it was hilarious. I was rolling in stitches, but it wasn't funny because this is really, really scary stuff. Have you seen any situations in which this kind of community is being able to elevate those bloggers and influencers who are not in our industry but are now really getting the qualifications of professionals to be more of their content?
Yeah, we haven't had anything in that regard. I try to have some quality control on who's up on stage, so there's no one cutting hair with swords or fire or anything ridiculous like that you've seen on the internet, And it's really been more people sort of engaging with the art behind it and sort of the wow of the artistry of it. So, and because we're not really going over technique, I haven't seen anyone take what they see on Elevate stage and try to duplicate it at home yet. But like I said, I try to kind of rein in a little bit of what's going on so it's not ridiculous out there. Again, this is a show that's dedicated to the craft of hairdressing, so I don't think you'll ever see anything like swordsmanship, literally, on stage.
But the music is an important part of it, and you mentioned earlier as well that you've been a DJ longer than you were a hairdresser. What's the technical term for a DJ? You throw disc? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I DJ. I bring in turntables, and we have music there, or I have other artists come in and DJ. So the DJ aspect of it is super important because I want there to be some organic chemistry in between what happens on stage and the musician and the audience. So It's like actual DJing. There's not a playlist or anything like that going on. As a DJ, I'm sort of averse to that kind of thing.
And do you have some sense as you go in, as you prepare, for example, for LA versus the shows that you're going to do in these other major cities?
Oh, yeah. I definitely have an idea, but as in hairdressing, I don't think it's good to have a set way of what you're going to do. I think it's important to let the crowd talk to you while you're mixing, as well as let the hair talk to you while you're cutting. So I want something organic to happen. So while I have maybe a crate, if you will, of music that I want to play, I don't ever have a hard set idea of what I'm going to play, because I might play something that I think is going to work, and if it doesn't, the next track that's associated with that, it won't work either. So I have to be nimble, and I have to be able to be open to what the crowd's doing.
Great. All right, we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we'll fill in the details on the event happening February 12th at the Viper Room. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need, from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. Well, be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap steak. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
Oh, man, it never fails. My suitcase just got ripped apart.
Life is a journey. Make it a pleasant one. Use Samsonite. You know the name. For almost a century, Samsonite luggage has proved itself to be the worldwide leader in innovative travel solutions. Let it be yours. Visit HealthyLife.net's affiliate Samsonite on our homepage and click to look at the fine luggage from suitcases to golf travel bags. And don't forget, take a look at their travel accessories. Make life a journey, a pleasant one, with Samsonite.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
This is Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. Welcome back. We are delighted as we round out this show today, where we've had the opportunity to be speaking with Tatum Neill of Neill Corporation, a current generation artist who is really influencing the way hair is being done and stimulating the craft through both art of hair design and hair cutting, but also combining music with his program called Elevate Hair. Tatum, tell us a little bit about the national tour that you have going on and what's going on here in L.A. February the 13th, correct?
February 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we've been primarily focused and growing this thing from our own base. Our distribution territory is essentially the Southeast, and that's where we've been focused. My brother Garrison and I, Garrison's our brand developer and brand manager, we really felt compelled to extend outside of our typical reach and come to L.A. and come to New York, because we felt if we did that we could really kind of own the entire U.S. market, so to speak. And so, just through networking connections, we actually got the Viper Room, which is such an iconic venue in L.A. and in America. We got that, and we were like, oh, my gosh, this is going to be such a big show. And so the lineup is is ridiculous, and I'll go through some of the artists that are going to be there. But this is going to be our biggest, baddest Elevate to date, and I can't tell you how excited I am. And we were talking music earlier. I mean, I'm working really hard at home when I'm not behind the chair to sort of practice and make sure the music set is going to be really good too. So if you're in the region, definitely come out. It's going to be ridiculous.
So tell us a little bit about how does it unfold? What's the hours, and what would somebody expect to see when they go?
Yeah, so I mean the format is pretty cool. It's going to start at 7. We'll start music a little early, but I line up 3 chairs, and I allow the artists just to create inside those chairs, and whenever they're finished, they're finished. So it's not sets of people. It's just go, 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 go. And I believe this show is our biggest one. We have like 16 artists. So they'll just get up on stage, they'll do hair, and then as soon as they're done hair, they'll stand up their model, and then the next person will sit down. So it's going to be a constant flow of great work after great work all night long to a great soundtrack that I hope people will really get down to.
And so there's 3 chairs, but you've got 16 artists that are signed up to basically rotate through those 3 chairs throughout the evening. Is that the plan?
Yep, exactly. And each artist will have about 20 minutes. I won't ever hook anyone off stage or anything, but yeah, each artist will have about 20 minutes. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but the DJ is actually on stage with them, so it looks kind of like a rap group. You've got 3 MCs or 3 hairstylists, and then there's a DJ right on stage with them, and so that sort of feedback loop of music and art is kind of constantly going. And my hope is that it'll ebb and flow and crescendo all night long.
Okay, great. And while all of that is happening, you're in a club scene, so you've got the dancing and all sorts of fun stuff.
Dancing and drinking. Well. I mean, like we need people to come and drink actually, because we work with the bar, so we need to keep the bar happy, and that's what helps us keep this a free event. It's totally free, and we do that by really working with the bar and making sure that they're happy. So if you're coming, come to dance and come to have a good time.
That's great. Now, are there any particular artists that's going to be there that you'd love to tell us about?
Yeah, and I'm going to talk a little bit just in their Insta names, but like Gerard Scarpese, obviously from Hairbrained, will be there. Myself, the Sugar Skulls, Chantrell Mitchell, Andrew Does Hair, Edward from the Sassoon Costa Mesa will be there. James Mould, Ben Crace, and Aaron Johnson, and a few other artists too. But those are some of the highlights.
Great.
Mike Valera as well.
And once so that is, again, February 12th at the Viper Room in Los Angeles for those of you who can make it at 7 p.m. Tell us about some of the other cities that you will be going to this year.
Yeah, after that, we're going to be in Houston on March 26th, and then I'm really excited about our New York show because I spent so much time in New York, trained there, and have a lot of friends there, and so that's going to be on May 21st. We're still working on that venue, but it looks to be as cool as the Viper Room.
Great. So what lies ahead when you think about fast forward a couple of years? Where do you see this going? What would you like to see happen?
Yeah, actually, one of my focuses this year is working on Elevate Up. Elevate Up is basically an Elevate pop-up. And this is where I think we're really going to drive home the aspect of community. It's basically an in-salon demo, kind of like how Elevate Hair started, like in a salon. And my goal is to create like sort of a team and network of Elevate ambassadors who can help me coordinate those Elevate Ups as well as Elevate Hairs. And so my goal is for me to be having this little Elevate Hair, Elevate Up happening in multiple cities at the same time, and then connecting it through social media, possibly Facebook Live or whatever happens in social media connectivity throughout the years, where LA and New York and New Orleans, we could all be elevating hair at the same time. And that's kind of like my fantasy, is to sort of develop a sort of a craft hairdresser network where we're kind of sharing a craft and building community. My big purpose with Elevate Hair, my big kind of touchy-feely purpose, if you will, is that I think there's a lot of power in hairdressing, and most professions, consumers don't interact with that profession on such a regular basis. You don't talk to your lawyer every 6 to 8 weeks. You don't go to your doctor every 6 to 8 weeks. Hopefully you're not seeing your plumber that often. But with hair, you go see that person, you develop relationships. So the big picture is, imagine if we as hairdressers could all have a message that we wanted to say and speak together. We could literally share that whole message with the entire world in 6 to 8 weeks. And I think that's a lot of power, and it's totally untapped right now. But before that can even happen, I think we have to create a venue, an environment where we can come together and have a community. And that's really the big picture of Elevate Hair. So doing these events, exposing people to who we are, exposing people to each other, and then having these monthly or every other month sort of follow-ups, these Elevate Ups in communities where I don't even have to be there. I could have ambassadors in L.A. doing Elevate Up, and I can have people in New York and London and all over, and then we can really start to create a community, and then we can really start to own our power.
You know, I thank you for taking the time to share with us, and I know it was a little bit of a hectic schedule to get you on the show, but I have to tell you, having the opportunity 20-something years ago to sit in the room and watch your father tell his vision about where he was going with bringing business professionals into our industry and elevating our business, our understanding of business, and to now sit here and listen to you, you know, beauty in my mind is the one that said it best was Stephen Moody, formerly of the Sassoon Academy, that our industry is a team sport. We're football, not golf. And we need, which means that basically we need to work as a team and work on community. And to be able to see what you're doing and where your vision, it really is inspiring. And congratulations for having the foresight to see where you can really make a difference and add value to our world.
Oh, thank you. It means so much knowing, you know, your history with, you know, my dad and hearing your words really mean a lot to me. Thank you.
Well, thanks again. We appreciate it. And give a shout-out again to the website where people can learn more about how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, elevatehair.com. But if you really want to see what's going on, get on Instagram at elevatehair. And if you guys are hairdressers out there or if you're clients who have cool hair, use the hashtag elevatehair so I can see what's going on, and hopefully I can repost your stuff and get it out there and share it with our community.
Great. Tatum, thanks so much for being with us today. That'll do it for us. Next week, join us again as we meet with a woman who is creating the hues of the future. Hue Noir with Paula Hayes is a makeup line where she custom makes foundation for women of color. So don't miss our show. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Send us your comments and questions to request at American Made Beauty or follow us on all of our social platforms. Thanks for listening. We think pretty is pretty important in all things in beauty.